raising happy teenagers. Raising teenagers in a way that we know they are connecting to us as parents, they have a good relationship with us, and that they trust us. We want that kind of relationship with our teenage children. But sometimes it's hard to know, do they respect us? Do they really have a good connection with us? Do they trust us as parents? And I'm here to share with you some ideas, some tips on how do you know if your teenage daughter, if your teenage son has a good connection with you as a parent, trusts you. In our time, in our generation, it is sometimes difficult to know because teenagers are going through their own very difficult time, their own challenges, their own period of transformation as they go from young children to young adulthood. And it is challenging. Parents of generations past cannot give us the same advice to children in this generation, to parents of this generation. They can't, because our times have changed. So our strategies, some of them, according to the Torah, are for sure eternal, apply in every generation, but especially in our generation. What ideas can we hold on to, and what are the tips can we have in order to know if our teenage daughter or son has a great connection with us? If the teenager acts themselves and isn't afraid to be silly, isn't afraid to act themselves, that's a great sign that they have a great relationship with their parents. They're not afraid to make mistakes. They're not afraid to speak their mind. That's another signal. Oftentimes they're very impulsive. They're not watching what they're saying. And unfortunately, mistakenly, us parents oftentimes take them so personally. We think, oh, wait a minute, they should be so mature. They're in their teens. They should watch what they're saying. They see how hard I work. And yet they talk like this to me. They disrespect me. How could they treat me this way? We take them seriously. But in truth, they're really going through their own time of discovering themselves, testing their limits, testing their independence. And it's a mistake to take them personally all the time. A teenager who admits their mistakes, apologizes, and isn't afraid to say that they messed up, meaning not just to their parents, but outside their home. What they did, they're really opening up. That's a great sign because the child is comfortable. Their child is comfortable to open up and to trust them, and knows that they only have their child's back, and they're not going to punish them and give them consequences for admitting to their mistakes. Something that a parent says oftentimes to their child of all ages is, "You're so smart." That's a mistake. Saying to a child, "You're so smart," makes them feel like if they mess up, that means their parent will not see them as so smart. So they won't show a certain grade to their parents, because now my parent will see that I'm not so smart. I won't live up to their expectations. I'm a failure. I messed up. And that's a mistake. So we want to make sure we tell our children, you worked so hard on this test. You got such a great score. Not "you're so smart," right? You worked so hard. Instead, if your teenager is asking you questions that are maybe even inappropriate to ask, this is what's on their minds, and they want to know. If they don't know from you, they're going to ask Mr. Google, google.com. They're going to ask online sources, other friends. If you are asked these questions, don't think that, now they're going to go off the wrong path. They're going to have other interests. No, but it means that they have trust in you, that they have these questions in their head anyway, and they feel so comfortable with you as their parent to tell them. And they should go to their parents. They should go to their parents to ask these questions. In order to foster a great relationship with your teenager, it's very important to spend one-on-one time doing things that they love to do. Either they want to go to a sports game, they want to watch a sports game, they want to go shopping, they want to go to the pizzeria, they want to have a coffee with you, anything that they want to do, to spend allocated time, whether it's once a week, once a month, as often as possible. That's really showing them that you're important to me and I'm making time for you. And tell them, I had so much to do, but I was so excited to see you, and I'm so excited to spend time with you one-on-one. Let them know that they are important to you. Another idea to foster great relationships is to ask their advice. Ask the advice of your teenager. Tell them about a problem you're having at work and you don't know what to do. You can even make it up, or a problem that you're having inside yourself. You're really trying to resolve an issue and you're asking for their advice. And this is a great idea. It's a beautiful way to foster greater connection, to show them that you're an individual and I trust your opinion and I value your advice and I think you're a capable source. And they're going to act that way. The way we treat our adolescent children is exactly the way they see themselves. So if I respect my teenager, if I treat them with dignity, they're going to see themselves as, wow, like I'm a capable person. Not because I accomplished, right? That's why many teenagers, they do crazy things. Why? To show that they have accomplished. They can do this stuff. They can challenge themselves. They can show their teenage friends that they also can. And sometimes they do unsafe things just to show that they're capable. But if I already see my child as capable as their parent, they don't need to prove themselves. I already trust them. I already know that they are. Empathizing with our children, especially when they're being emotional, and boys are just as emotional as girls. It's just that they express themselves a little bit differently. To empathize with them, to tell them, you know what, I also hated science when I was in school. I also hated homework. You know, in our minds, we want our children to excel in tests, excel in their endeavors in school, but at the same time, we want to like hide our own inner child in relating to them. And yes, I also messed up in school. Yes, I also was a quiet child who didn't really want to go to school, who was forced to, or who didn't really want to, you know. But show them that you're also human, that you also made mistakes, that you also had challenges, that you also overcame them. And no, you didn't always like school. And no, you couldn't wait for school to end. And you loved gym instead, and lunchtime and recess instead of academic studies. And this shows them you're just a real person. Yes, we have this image, this of what we want our children to be. But oftentimes, you know, oftentimes when I speak to ladies, so young girls, college students, they say, you know, I don't want to disappoint my parents. My parent only wants me to date this person and that person, or who's someone who's in this field or that field, because I just don't want to disappoint them. Children are so afraid of disappointing their parents. Why? They want to be looked at as wonderful, as smart, as intelligent, but they are already, and we have to understand they're on their own path. As much as I want my child to be X, Y, and Z, it doesn't help them if I don't give them what's interesting to them, catering to their interests, their personalities, their preferences. It just doesn't help me, it doesn't help them, and it distances us. And no parent wants their child to be distanced from them. Also, in order to foster great relationships, is not to give them advice when they don't ask for it, right? If they just want to say, you know, Mom, you know what happened today? This and this happened. And then what automatically we care so much about our child, we say, oh, if I were you, oh, next time make sure you don't forget to do this before you do that. And we care so much that we just want to help our child. But sometimes all they want is just to say what's on their mind, say what happened, and just be left alone. And say, wow, as a parent, we can say, that was so hard for you. Wow, thanks for sharing that with me. That must have been hard to share. Or, wow, I didn't know that about you. It's an amazing quality you have, that you can give in, or you help your friend even though they're not so helpful. Or you invited them even though they didn't invite you to some kind of an event. You know, it's a beautiful experience to share an experience with each other and just sit in it and enjoy it and say, wow, it's amazing. Not to give some sort of advice. If your teenager doesn't ask you for advice, try not to give it, right? Of course, we want to help our children, our adolescents. You know, there's a time and place to do that, but every single time they share something with us, we don't need to give them advice and save them. When they're speaking, obviously, to look and listen, you know, not just with our eyes, but with our bodies, you know, empathizing with them, showing that we care, showing that we're there for them, showing that we're listening, that they're important to us. You know, just like somebody important in your life who you respect will come and visit you, you're going to drop everything and pay attention and make yourself look nice and give all your attention and all your plans are canceled. Of course, it's hard to do that every single time, but at least to show with our eyes and with our bodies that we are present in the moment and we're listening to them. When they're coming when they're being difficult, it's hard to tackle the problem all at once. They're being disrespectful. Maybe they're saying and acting in ways that they shouldn't, and they want something. So the first thing to do, what's better to do, is to be there for them emotionally. Emotional coaching. Be there for them emotionally, and say, wow, that must be really difficult. They're saying, Mom, I can't believe you forgot to bring this to school, or you forgot to bring me there, or you were late. And they're speaking very disrespectfully, and they're raising their voice, and they say, I know you're very frustrated right now. I'm sorry I was late. And then later on, you don't have to tackle the disrespect all the time. They know. But, adolescents need 9 compliments or 9 feelings of goodness, positivity, before we give 1 negative. So what does that mean? It's a smile, it's a hug, it's listening to them, it's approving of what they're saying, it's giving them a compliment. So that's 9 of those before I can say, make sure your room is done. And even that, we have to be careful. It's so difficult, but our educators say we need to make sure we give much more positivity than negativity to our adolescents. One really big one is don't live through your children. It's oftentimes parents may say, I do so much for you. How could you speak to me this way? I'm your mother and I deserve your respect. I'm your father, I deserve your respect. We never talk to our parents that way. As we said, our generation is different. It's a different generation, different challenges. It's much more, difficult behaviors from the children, much more. Don't live through their children. They have their own challenges, and we are privileged to be their parents. A parent is privileged to have children, to have royal children to take care of. They'll tell you, I didn't ask to be born, but we do have children for the sake of having children, taking care of them. It's a privilege. And not to live through them. If I have challenges with my child, I need to deal with them, not to remind them, you're supposed to do this, you're supposed to do that, and I'm your parent, and you're supposed to be there for me, and you're supposed to respect me. Don't live through your children. Your mitzvah, your obligation, your commandment is to have children, enjoy them, raise them the best way you can, pray for to raise the best way that you can, but our children don't really owe us anything. And then the last one I wanted to share is that showing a great connection, respect, and trust with your children is giving them their own space, their own time, their own space, time to themselves. If you can, give them their own room. They need that privacy. Trust them, ask them for advice. Be there for them as much as you can without feeling like you're controlling them. And hopefully all of these tips are going to give us a stronger connection with our adolescent children. Respect, trust, and all in all, a great relationships. Leah Abramov, being and becoming. Awakening awareness of your greatness and potential.